Joe, thank you so much for having me today. I'm really interested to hear about the history of Edwin Co. How did all of this get started?
Well, actually, my side of it started with my wife. I was really good. I was really close to my my grandmother growing up, and her father, my great grandfather, was a Prohibition era bootlegger. So he was kind of a folk hero of mine. And my wedding present from my wife was some of his original products, some of his apprentices, a nice article that was written about him, and a lot of memorabilia. So we were on a honeymoon, and I thought, you know what, I shouldn't let this family recipe die. I should go ahead and start bootlegging myself, which I did. So from 2012 to 2016, I made my great-grandfather's whiskey in my garage.
So your great-grandfather was making this whiskey in Louisiana?
Yes.
During Prohibition. So this was, a recipe rather that has quite a history. How did you get started doing it on your own? I would imagine it's not easy.
No, it's not. So you have to break the law in order to become a distiller. So he produced from 1928 until September 2000, he passed away.
Wow.
So I was 15 at the time, so I couldn't learn directly from him, but I picked it up from his apprentice and spent a lot of time in my garage, 20, 30 hours a week in my garage, just taking my licks and learning the process. And eventually I just became kind of obsessive about it and really got the bug.
So tell me about the process. What did all of that trial and error consist of?
Well, first of all, you can't buy a still because it's illegal to own a still. So I had to build my own still. I had a little one when we lived in Fort Wayne, I cooked on the stovetop. Then we moved back out to the country and I upgraded to a bigger still because I could distill outside. So yeah, it was very interesting. Now we have, of course, purchased stuff from large manufacturers, but.
So at what point did you think, okay, this obsession is not going away anytime soon, maybe I should take the leap and really do it seriously?
December 2015. I was in the garage, I was distilling, I was listening to a podcast and it was talking about how to be happy in your life and all that kind of stuff, and it said, if you have something you love, turn it into a job. And I thought, man, I wish I could find something like that I could turn into a job. And it took about 3 or 4 days before it clicked and went, alcohol. I spend 20 or 30 hours a week in my garage already making alcohol, so that's what I should do. So January 1, 2016, I filed for the LLC and started filling out my permits and started the distillery.
Were you good at distilling pretty quickly, or did it take a while? How long does it take to figure it out?
I'm still figuring it out. It's one of those things, usually the main distiller in any distillery is called a master distiller, and I refuse to call myself a master until someone who is a master will call me that.
Was your great-grandfather a master?
He didn't have a formal education, he couldn't read or write, he never had his permits. He was a bootlegger for 72 years, so I would call him a master, I think most people would, but I don't think he ever cared for the title either way.
Tell me about the art of making a good whiskey.
So the art is interesting. Some people consider it a science. I definitely consider it more of a craft, more of an art. Alcohol, it boils at 182 degrees and comes through the still head, and you can do your cuts and you can make alcohol based off your proof and your temperature. I don't do it that way. I definitely use that kind of as a guide, but I use my senses. I smell it, I taste it, I feel it on my hands. Just the way it's coming out, the way it looks. There's just all these little things that take a long time. I have my original journal from when I first started, and I would take notes every 10 minutes on just whatever I was sensing, whatever I was feeling, tasting, all that kind of stuff. So now I can tell by the smell as the wind blows across the still. I can tell if it's my head's cut, heart's cut. I can tell by the feel of it, if it's oily, if it's clean, if it's dry. So it's a lot of just feeling it.
What is the hardest part about making good spirits?
I would say the hardest part it'd be your cuts. So
Tell me what that means.
Sure, so at the very beginning of your process, when it comes off the still head, you have your 4 shots, which is gonna be methanol, acetone, paint thinner type of alcohols. That you have to get rid of. Then there's your heads cut, that's your college days. That's your cheap half-gallon, plastic half-gallon. It's got a lot of heads in it. Gives you your headache, sour stomach. It's really nasty. And then you go into your heart's cut, and then after that, that's what you want to keep. And then you go into your tail's cut. So knowing the difference between the cuts, especially vodka that comes off the still at 190 proof. So trying to taste the fusel oils and just some of the things behind the spirit is really difficult. It's so hot, it's 190 proof, so it's very, very warm. So just trying to kind of get your cuts in there properly. And you're throwing a lot of product away. When you buy a premium bottle like one of mine, what you're paying for is for me to know and work my equipment properly to throw that away for you so you have a nice clean product. So you end up throwing a lot of product just down the drain, literally.
So when did you decide to branch out from whiskey and start distilling other spirits?
My father-in-law or my mother-in-law was very supportive of my distillation process. So she would buy me barrels, the aging barrels for birthdays and Christmas and stuff. So I eventually sold my motorcycle and bought my first vodka column and started making vodka for her. And then my father-in-law, he drinks rum, so I started making rum for him. And I thought, I might as well make gin and start a distillery. So.
Are the rest of the spirits sort of done the same way in terms of your senses?
Oh yeah. Actually, I'm just rerunning a batch of vodka right now. It came out at the right proof, it came out at the right temperature. All the points were there, but when I went to proof it down, after I proofed it down, it just didn't taste quite right. So I dumped it into the next batch and I'm gonna redistill both at the same time just because I wasn't completely happy with it.
Do you feel like you are learning every day? Because it seems like there is quite a bit to take on.
Absolutely. There's an old saying, the person who doesn't think they have anything to learn in the room is the least intelligent person in the room. So if I have a nice long career like Grandpa at 70-something years of distilling, I'll still be learning something every day. That's kind of the point, is to make your craft better and better.
What has been the biggest challenge of turning your passion into your livelihood?
It's a lot of work. Anyone who owns a small business knows that you spend 60, 70 hours a week doing what you love and not getting paid very well for it. Thankfully, my wife has a really nice job and is very supportive. We have 2 small children, so it's really difficult to balance working that much and still maintain the family unit. So that's definitely the hardest part.
Do you think that people consider what you do in art?
Maybe, maybe not. I was thinking about that earlier yesterday, and I think anything someone does, everyone has an artist inside them, and I think you can, being a good interviewer is a form of art. Being a good cameraman, being, whatever it is, you can be an accountant and be an artist at your craft. So I think everyone has that in them. Whether they decide to move it from just doing a job into more of the art side is dependent on the person. So yes, I do consider myself, maybe not quite an artist, but definitely an artisan or a craftsman.
Craftsman, I like that.
Yeah.
How long from start to finish does it take to create a bottle of whiskey, for example?
A bottle of whiskey, it depends on how long you age it. From grain to barrel is about a week and a half. Same with all the clear spirits, so rum, vodka, gin, those are gonna be about a week and a half to 2 weeks from grain to bottle. So once you've put the whiskey in the barrel, now you can let it age as long as you like. There's whiskeys out there that have been aged 20 years. So, but it's still only a week and a half from the time they mill the grain until they put it in the barrel.
What is your preference on how long it stays in the barrel?
Grandpa did between 6 and 2 years, 6 months and 2 years. And so I use his product as a base, and I pull mine and I harvest my barrels based off his flavor profile. So in Indiana, it typically is around a year.
If you decide to add more to your line, how long will that take, do you think? Because you'll have to teach yourself how to do it.
So every new mash takes just a little time. You add a different grain, you try a different yeast, and you just try it a couple times. The unfortunate thing about any whiskey or aged spirit is you try it and you think you're putting a really nice distillate into a barrel, and then 2 years down the road and you harvest the barrel, you go, that's not what I was looking for. And so you start over. And in the meantime, hopefully you've put a different distillate in, or if it turns out great, hopefully you haven't changed it at all. So it's just real trial and error. You kind of know what it's going to go in, what it's going to come out tasting like. At first I didn't. My first barrel was undrinkable. I didn't know what I was doing. I thought I had put a really good distillate in. It came out, and by the time I harvested, I knew it was going to be bad though. I thought the amount I've learned in the year that it was aging, I thought this is not going to be a good product.
Wow.
But
what do you think is your biggest goal, your biggest dream for this business and for your art?
Really to get spirits into the forefront of the general population. A lot of people drink beer, a lot of people drink wine. And I understand the appeal of that. Those are RTDs, ready to drinks. You pop the top, you pop the wine, you pour it in a bottle, and or in a glass, and that's it. Unless you're drinking bourbon straight or gin or anything straight, that's really not the way spirits work. You need to make a cocktail, which involves some hardware, involves a lot of other ingredients, but it's a lot of fun. If you enjoy cooking, you'll enjoy making cocktails. It's a lot of, hey, I think this would be good. I think that would be good. Go in the refrigerator and check it out and see what you like.
It's intimidating, I think.
I think it is. It's definitely intimidating, and it's not nearly as difficult as someone would think. The golden ratio is 2 to 1 to 1, so 2 parts spirit, 1 part acid, 1 part sweetener. So take whatever spirit base you want, add lime juice, lemon juice, any type of acid whatsoever, add honey, add sugar, add whatever for your sweetener, and you're there. So
Again, you make it sound very easy. I'm not sure that it is, but
yeah.
I'm going to remember that. That's
Yeah.
very good to know.
That's the golden rule. So you always kind of, the more you get into cocktails, there's also things on whether or not to stir it, shake it,
Right.
and that changes the mouth feel. If you shake something, it's going to be a little more bubbly, a little more light on your tongue. If you stir it, it's going to be a little heavy, like an old fashioned. You want to stir. And then it comes up in a coupe, you're going to want to shake, so you want it to be a little more lighter. So yeah, there's definitely some nuances to it, but the golden rule will get you a long way.
Okay, last question. Has turning your love for spirits into your job made it less joyful for you?
No, absolutely not. You hear a lot of people say that, like, oh, if you turn your hobby into a job, it's no longer a hobby.
Yeah.
No. I love it just as much as I did the first day I ever turned the still on. In fact, I like it better now because I have more equipment. I can make a larger range of products. I'm getting better at it. Like I said, you can continue to learn something new every single day. So no, absolutely not. I absolutely love it.
Joe, your passion is so exciting. Like I said, I'm gonna have to try some of your product, maybe not right now,
Maybe not,
but later.
yeah.
I appreciate it so much. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Arts in Focus on PBS Fort Wayne is funded in part by the Our Foundation and the Community Foundation of Greater Fort Wayne.